All right, so I just got delivered the flexible shaft coupling. Originally, they'd given me a rigid coupling. We have a different arrangement. So this one has a keyway up at the top and then two little dimpled set screws on the bottom. This one's actually a split shaft coupling. So it's got two bolts that clamp down on it after you do the keyway. And it also has the dimple on the bottom like our old shaft coupling. This is more like our old shaft coupling that we took off the Velvet Drive. Or, yeah, it was the rusty one I had to cut off. Yeah, and then we also got the, this is a flexible, I guess, coupling. It goes in between the engine output and the new shaft coupling. So this thing is flexible, I guess. It helps take up some of the vibration on this. So now we're messing about on how best to set this engine up for installation on the engine beds.
Hey, we're Jenny and Rich, and our stowaway is Twitchell the Marina Cat. We've been documenting the refit of our 1977 Tayana 37 Ramble on for the past several years. I don't think there's a single part of this boat that we haven't repaired, replaced, or improved in some way. We're proud to say we've done 99.9% of the work ourselves. We've gained a lot of knowledge and experience in the process, and we're happy to pass that wisdom on.
I went through and did this lower bed and fastened the heck out of it to the existing, and then laid out staggering screws so that they don't hit each other or affect the bolts for the motor mounts. So I'm just going through pre-drilling and fastening these down, getting everything, because they got to, you know, pre-drill the bottom layer too, because these screws are pretty brutal. So I'm just getting this thing set up with the screws right now, and then I'll take everything off and get it ready for epoxy. So right now I'm just prepping these so that once I do glue everything up, it's just zip, 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 and then it's actually pretty darn stout. I guess we'll see. Just talking it out with another guy in our marina, and he's done engines and things like that as well. Shout out to Ed on the West Sail down at our A dock. So talking to him, he's also going to put in a word to Bud Taplin and see what Bud thinks about it as far as this situation goes. I was just worried about the higher you get it, the more potential there is for twist. But he says these engines run so smooth and there's no vibration in them. I mean, we'll see. There. Wheels. So we're gonna drag this thing out of the trailer with the tractor. He's gonna lift it up. I'm gonna pop those things on, and then we're gonna cart it over to our dock ramp. And then we got a couple of people joining us to roll it down. Well, once we get it to the flat part, we can roll it to the boat and lift it up like
just you and me is what I'm saying, though.
Yeah, once we get to that point, we got to take the gallows down and set up the topping lift and hike the boom and find the balance point for the chain hoist and all that stuff. So, yeah. All right, let's get the boat set up, take the gallows off, and get all the lines rigged up to keep the boat balanced.
All right.
know what I was doing with that dimension drawing, but I was way off on my measurements. I mean, it just seemed like the whole thing would have been a better option to shove it back and meet the existing shaft coupling, because, you know, we talked before about the lay length of the Velvet drive is longer than this 2-speed gearbox. Yeah, I was worried that this thing was sitting so high, as you get further up and raising it up to line up the shaft and everything, was going to put this thing touching the engine cover. Right now, I've got a couple of inches of clearance.
A couple of inches or a couple centimeters?
Well, now, right here, the top, remember that nut we were talking about on the water neck? Yeah, it's not touching, but it's right there.
All right, so now we've got room in the back. In the boat.
Yesterday, we got the big red beast placed in the boat, resting ever so lightly on the engine beds that we raised up. And looking at it and thinking about it and sleeping on it overnight, we kind of came up with this. And originally we were talking about shoving it back and making the output of the transmission made up with the propeller shaft. But now I think it's actually going to be better sitting here for a couple of reasons. And the biggest problem is we're going to have a temporary shaft made up, something with a coupling on each end. So for some reason, when I was doing my calculations off the dimensioned line drawings, it seemed like the further forward you move this thing, it seemed like it was going to be touching the engine cover. But as you can see right there, it looks like a pretty good fit. So this just makes the plumbing and everything work out better. It gives us room for the wet muffler where the old one used to be on the Perkins, and also for accessing critical fluid checkpoints like the oil fill right here, as well as the heat exchanger, the coolant cap right under there. The only problem is the oil dipstick is all the way over here, and we've got a little halon fire extinguisher that I don't even think you can get halon anymore, but that thing's in the way, so I can move that, no worries. But I'm gonna have to cut something here in the engine cover to give us access to pull the dipstick without having to take the ladder out and slide everything out of the way. And as long as I'm cutting wood and doing varnish and things like that, I'll go ahead and touch up some of our mistakes over here. Got a little hairy yesterday putting the engine in, and we put it in, took it out, put it in, took it out. I think we put it in, got in a fight, took it out, and put it in again. Yeah, it was crazy, because dipping the engine down and guiding it in and swinging it around, and we got a little loose on the output shaft and scratched up some teak. And so I had to rig up a block and tackle. I put a 3-to-1. I just rigged up some old pulleys and did a 3-to-1 to hike the tail shaft up so that we could dip it down underneath, get past the companionway, put some red paint on the fiberglass hatch turtle, as well as took off some varnish and put some deep gouges in the teak. So
it's memento.
Yeah, every time I look at it, it reminds me of what a hassle it was putting this engine in. I didn't want to crack the transmission and the engine and put them in separately, because I don't know how it goes together, and I didn't know if I was going to have to replace a gasket or anything like that. This thing sits pretty nice right here. I probably could have left the engine beds a little bit longer, but I don't think that matters. Right here's the exhaust elbow, and I'm going to have to get something customized, and actually I need a gooseneck to raise it up. So where we've got the engine sitting right now, here's the output shaft on the transmission versus the propeller shaft coupling here. So this is what I was talking about, having to get a little extension made. And I'm going to call Bay Prop tomorrow and see what they can do for me. And hopefully we can, once I get that, I can line the engine, get everything bolted down, and continue with plumbing on the wet exhaust system. Yeah, so right here, for some reason, they put a reducer fitting in, so there's a smaller diameter hose going out to the through-hole fitting. So I'm going to change that through-hole fitting right there and replumb all this wet exhaust system. All right, that's it for now.